4, 3, 2. Welcome in, Coach Vargas.
Thank you.
You know, I was thinking whenever I was going to do this, I was like, I have to get Coach Vargas just because he can kind of give a different angle on how sports kind of is from a different culture, because you're unique. I think unless I'm mistaken, you are probably the only person here on the Evangel coaching staff that is an immigrant. You think I'm correct by saying that?
I think the other coach, the tennis coach, I think he...
Yeah. That's right, Coach Mirko.
Yeah.
Where is he from? Do you remember?
I don't remember where he's from.
I could be wrong, but he might be from Ukraine.
I think he is. I think he's, yeah.
If he's from Ukraine, that's crazy. I haven't thought about that. I want to ask him some questions.
Yeah,
maybe he'd be
two of us.
Yeah. Maybe he'd be a good next guest. Yeah. But so Coach Vargas, can I call you Jose?
Yeah, you can just call me Jose. Just
for the sake of the podcast, make it easy.
Yeah.
So Jose, you've had an interesting journey into getting to the position you're at now. Kind of walk me through how you just came to America and how you got in touch with Evangel. And you can be as in-depth as you want, or you can be as quick as you want. It's up to you.
All right, so I came to United States in 2015. I came because my Venezuelan coach, he found me a scholarship to go and play at a community college here in Iowa. Mm-hmm. So I came here my first year, and I was able to play for Indian Hills Community College. Then at the end of the season, my scholarship got taken away. And
your scholarship got taken away? Interesting.
Yeah. So I guess...
So you were kind of left out dry after that?
Yeah. So the funny part was I was supposed to have my exit meeting on Monday, but then it got pushed to Tuesday. Uh-huh. And then my airplane or my flight was supposed to be on Friday. Uh-huh. So basically I had everything packed, everything ready to go, and so I go to my exit meeting, and the first thing that my coach tells me is, thanks for being here, and I just want to be honest with you, I don't think you're good enough to play baseball.
Really?
So I'm like, well, I guess I'm not coming back, So how did I stay here? Well, during Christmas break, I met an American family that were able to host me and my roommate at that time.
This was during Christmas break, before you had been let go?
Before,
okay.
Yeah. So they basically allow us to be there for Christmas break, 2 weeks, and we built that connection. Mm-hmm. So by the moment I was told that I wasn't going to come back to Indian Hills Community College, I called them just to say bye to them and just being thankful.
So at that point, did you think you were going to get sent back home?
Oh yeah, definitely. I thought I'm gonna just take my airplane, go, my flight, go home, and I never coming back.
Yeah.
So I was on the phone call on the phone with them, and they told me, well, we don't want you to leave. We liked you and we want you to stay. So we are going to pick you up and we are going to bring you home, and you're going to stay with us for the summer. We're going to help you find a college, and that's going to we're going to make it happen for you. So that's basically what happened. So I spent the whole summer with them, and then we did some college visits, and so my last college visit was Evangel.
Yeah.
And the moment I stepped on campus, the moment I just I felt that connection. It was just different.
Felt like home.
Yeah, it was different, definitely a feeling compared to the other schools that I visit. Mm-hmm. And so, I left campus that day, and I just wanted to be here. So I had to make a decision, and that was based on what I would do and the budget and all that.
So it all just
Yeah. So basically, it was a month left before I had to be on campus, and I basically had $3,000. Yeah. And I had to basically make an extra $7,000 in order to come to Evangel that year. So this doctor from the town that I was at in Iowa, he basically said, you want to go to Evangel? God's going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, this is one of the moments where...
This was a doctor, you said?
Yeah.
And so is this doctor like a family friend of the people you stayed with?
Yeah, he was a family friend. Gotcha. He was a pastor in the town.
So he's a doctor and a pastor.
Yeah, he's basically the one that found Evangel. He said, hey,
gotcha.
So him and my host family, they brought me here, basically.
Yeah.
So and this guy said, well, God is going to make it happen. So at that time, I was trying to stay faithful, but I'm like, it's $7,000. I work all summer long.
And so all this is happening as you're still in Iowa, staying with your family.
Yeah,
just waiting to find a place to go.
Yeah, just finding a school. Yeah, I had basically a month left on my student visa, and after that, I was gonna become an illegal immigrant.
Okay, so let me get that. Let me get this straight. The student visa that was given to you, whenever you came here, did it expire after a year? Or it expires once you're not a student anymore.
Well, technically, it expires when you're not a student anymore.
Okay.
So what saved me was I got a loan with the administration people at that community college.
Uh-huh.
So technically, instead of cutting me right after my meeting with the coach, they told me, we want to help you, so we won't cut you until August.
And who told you at the coaching staff?
No, that was the administration people.
The administration at the community college.
Technically,
so they kept you on as a student so you could stay in the country.
Yes, they basically kept me as okay, you're coming back next year. We don't know anything. So that's why I was able to keep my status as a student.
Gotcha.
So technically, this doctor, like I was telling you, he comes up one day and he's like, hey, I've been praying for you, and I think God has a plan for you at Evangel, and we are gonna make it happen. And he basically gave me a check for $7,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be a surreal moment.
Yeah. I was very, very grateful for him, and we still keep in touch. And I mean, it's just one of those opportunities where you get to see how God works in your life, and it was definitely meant to be. Yeah. So
And tell us a little bit about your time here at Evangel. Like, how'd you like the school? How'd you like the competition? What sort of, it's kind of one question I want you to answer as you go along is, how different is like the baseball experience in Venezuela compared to the baseball experience in America? Okay, so
my experience at Evangel, I would say it was definitely a very great experience in my opinion. I enjoyed it. I enjoy living on campus, getting to know people, and it's not just getting to know people, it's getting to know people from different backgrounds, and from a sport background, and just people that just were here because they just wanted to build a career. So it was definitely like being on a campus with athletes and a campus with people who are just known. So basically my whole time at Evangel was around the baseball team. We ate together, we went to class together, we went to practice, and we ate dinner together. And basically my roommates were baseball players, my suite mates, people across. So when I had time off and I had time to go to the house and do a schoolwork, I got to meet people that weren't athletes, and we got to share a little bit of each other and get to know each other.
And so at this point, like, how well was your English when you got here to Evangel as a sophomore?
So when I came to USA, I basically didn't speak English.
Right.
It took me about, I would say, a year and a half to be at 70%.
So you think by like, where do you think you were at by the time you like got to campus?
Probably 65%.
65%.
Yeah. So I remember.
And did you ever take like a class or go to Rosetta Stone online, or you just kind of like felt it? You just got it just from having to put yourself in this different culture.
I actually got asked that question this past week, and I was I was explaining how I took some ESL classes, but technically
at your community college.
Yeah, at the community college, but technically it was a teacher saying, bueno, íbamos a hablar sobre este tipo de cosas, ¿verdad? Esta cosa. And the lady was pointing at the board, but it was like, vamos a hablar un poquito de estas cosas, de las cosas que están en la pizarra. And again, she kept saying so many words, and I'm like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? I know you're pointing at the board, but what does that mean? I couldn't figure it out. So in order for me to learn it, I had to basically teach it to myself. So I learned words, I learned phrases. I usually did it in a way that if I was going to go somewhere, I would learn sentences that I was going to use at that place. Like if I was going to go to Walmart, I would learn how to ask, where can I find this item?
Yeah.
So I learned in Spanish. I made the sentence in Spanish, translated it, and I learned it. So when I went to Walmart, I used it. So by doing these things, when I went to the cafeteria, classroom, Walmart, gas station, by me knowing all these sentences, allowed me to expand my vocab, and that allowed me to learn and communicate.
So you kind of started by learning the basic phrases and the things that you need to survive. Like the groceries you're going to need at Walmart, or trying to fill up at gas at a pump. Yeah.
Even though I didn't know what it meant at that time completely, it eventually connected, and it clicked in my mind that even though it wasn't word by word, the meaning that I was looking for, it was a way to communicate, and that's basically how I learned it.
And so I want to back up a little bit. When you said that your coach in Venezuela found you a spot at some community college in Iowa. Like what team were you on then back in Venezuela? Like who was this coach the coach of?
So in Venezuela, that's a different part of being American.
Yeah.
And in Venezuela. So in Venezuela, we don't have teams in high school. So you guys play baseball or football or soccer or whatever sport it is for the high school team.
Yeah.
In Venezuela, we don't have high school teams. It's basically just PE. That's our chance, our time to do sports, just PE class.
So you didn't have like competitive sports. Like in your area in Venezuela, like how many different schools were there?
There's a lot of schools.
There's a lot of schools.
But it's just a school. Like it's just for people to go to school over there.
And I of course I don't know anything. Like how did they do like grades? Like the way that we do like K through 12, we separate 9 through 12 high school, 6 through 8 middle school, elementary school. Do they still have stuff similar to that in Venezuela? It's a little different.
It's a little different. Matter of fact, when you graduate from Venezuela, you're only 16 years old. That's when you graduate from high school.
When can you start driving in Venezuela?
You can start driving at the age of 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you graduate from high school when you are 16.
Okay.
And you guys graduate when you are 18.
Okay.
So back to the sport.
Yeah.
So technically, you only have clubs over there. So team clubs, and so that's what I was. I was part of a club team, and we basically play tournaments and we play league games and just like basically like a travel ball.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you want to take it seriously and you want to pursue baseball as a career, which is basically a way out of our country or a way to provide for your family, is becoming professional. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you become part of a baseball academy, and that can be anywhere from 12 years old to 18. And again,
Gotcha.
the younger the better. You got more time to develop. You got more time to get better at it. And
Venezuela produces a lot of Major League Baseball players.
Yeah, and that's a good part of it. Like when you're young, you get to be around people that are 18, that are 16, 17. So your mentality changes because you're now being part of a baseball culture where you have to mature sooner than everybody else, because you have to deal with men. You have to be around men that are basically professionals or that are pursuing that professional career.
So what do you do at this academy? Like, do you do you travel with them on weekends? Do you stay with them for a long period of time? Like, how does that work?
So basically, academies are owned by agents, and they
agents with connections to like America, to like Major League Baseball.
No, just independent agents.
Okay, independent agents. Gotcha.
So what they do is they usually own a house, and they bring all these players that they have in their academies, and they just put them all together in a house. So basically, they take you away from your family in a good way, you know.
Yeah. So you're deciding voluntarily,
and they put you in this house, and they provide you food, cleats, equipment, all you need for as long as you're there. And they're gonna provide you with camps. They're gonna bring scouts for you to just play in front of them and pursue that sign that you're just being part of a sign as a free agent, you know.
So is it like one team per academy, or do you have a bunch of teams within an academy?
No, it's just an academy is just one team basically.
And how many kids were in this academy?
When I was there, it was probably like 50 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said ranging from ages 12 to 18, so you could have a 12-year-old playing with an 18-year-old?
You can have a 12-year-old playing at 18 years old, and I mean, that was part of it. Like, I mean, you definitely, at that point, you kind of like separate ages a little bit when it comes to games.
Yeah.
But you're still getting to play with these people. So that's what I mean by you have to mature sooner than everybody else, because it doesn't matter if you're 12 or 18. Right. It is baseball. You got to play it.
Right.
If you're going to be there, you got to be able to play it, even though you struggle. You have to show that you want to be there and you want to play it. Like, you got to be ready for whatever comes your way.
And how many kids would live in the house that you stayed at?
When I was people that live in the house are people that are basically prospects.
Yeah.
So
with a host, like, so it's like a family that hosts all these different kids.
No, it's just the agent. The agent owns the house, and he basically has employees.
The agent doesn't live in the house. He just owns different houses that he sends kids to.
He basically owns the house.
Yeah,
and he hires people to cook for you.
Gotcha.
And to basically come during the weekends and check on you. He comes around. He comes sometimes and he checks on you too. Sometimes he stays there. So it's basically
that sounds pretty fun, man.
Yeah, you basically you start living away from home when you are that young, I guess.
Yeah. How long would you be away from home?
I started the baseball academy when I was 14, and I was away from home until I was 17.
Really?
So 3 years. I got to see my family, every other week
Yeah.
or once a month. But technically, I was away from home.
So
for 3 years.
That's what I'm trying to think. That is so unique. Because we don't have anything like that in America. If you want to make it in baseball in America, you grow up, you play travel ball on the weekends, you play the tournaments on Saturday and Sunday, and then if you're lucky, you're the cream of the crop and you go play minor league baseball and work your way up the ranks. But in Venezuela, it's interesting, like you said, you have a lot of guys that will go into this dream of baseball hoping to get out of the country. Like, this is a great way to help your family.
Absolutely.
This is something that's not that Americans can't really understand.
Yeah.
And so, at the time you left, like, growing up in Venezuela, like, were things always as bad as they are now, or did they just progressively get worse? And did you think you got out at a right time?
Yeah, I definitely got time. And the reason why is because right when I left, it was the time where our president showed signs of being a dictator.
Right.
So Venezuela economy was good until at a certain point. But then right before I left, things started to escalate just because private companies started to realize, okay, this guy is a dictator and he's trying to take everything from me, so I'm leaving. So basically all the private companies left, and they left us in a position where we only had funds from the government, which there weren't that many.
Yeah.
And products and items. And technically eventually we ran
state-owned industries,
yeah. So it wasn't the best quality. It wasn't that many production.
And so did this slowly happen, like, throughout your life growing up, or did it like take like a deep drop off at one point?
I would say,
because as far as like my Venezuelan history goes, I know that like when Chavez was in office for the first like 10 years, he just relied on Venezuela being such an oil-rich country, and so he engaged in just so much social spending, which in the short term lifted a lot of people out of poverty, but it only made Venezuela so dependent on oil. And the minute that oil prices dropped, they had nothing left, and they had to just take it all from the citizens. And then of course Chavez dies, and Maduro is hand-selected, and tons of corruption, blah blah blah, and then here we are now. Do you think it's because right now in America we sort of complain about like gas prices getting high and stuff. Do you think that's a little petty considering the way that you grew up? It's like, you guys deal with gas, you guys complain about gas prices. Go spend a month in Venezuela and see how much you like it. Yeah,
so like you say, when Hugo Chavez was there, things were, I mean, he was a dictator too, but do you think he became a dictator, or like he was well-hearted at the start and then slowly became a dictator? Towards the end he became a dictator. Yeah, he was obviously
because he was very popular.
Yeah,
amongst Venezuela for a long time.
He was in the presidency in power for a while, and we had a good economy when he was there. Yeah, and again, this guy probably took money away from the country, and you know how that goes. But technically, we had a good economy when he was there. He was smart. He was a businessman. He was able to bring private companies and, just doing good for the country. But towards the end, when, like you say, when those private companies realized what was going on, they left, and slowly he started taking the money from people. And then eventually, when things went down, we started questioning where's the money. Like, we have been selling oil for so many years, and now we don't have money. So that's when we realized, okay, these guys have been taking the money away from us, have been stealing it. So that's when things started to go bad. Chavez dies around that time, and then Maduro takes over. So Maduro basically kept doing the same thing that Chavez was doing towards the end, which was trying to lift the country up from way down the and there was no money to do it, so they kept with a few private companies that were left. That's what they kept doing. They kept taking money away from them to provide for the people that needed it the most. Yeah. But then eventually, the private company left, and we didn't have anybody to help us. Mm-hmm. So that's when that right at that time I left, and I left at a point where you basically would buy food only by your ID number, by the end of your ID number. So it will be 0 and 1 on Mondays, 2 and 3 on Tuesdays, and then so on,
So basically the government would like decide when you're going to buy
when you were gonna buy.
groceries.
Yes, that way they could control who was buying what and how often they were buying. So basically, my family, my ID number ends on 9, my mom's on 9, my brother's on 4, and my dad's on 6.
Wow.
So technically, we could buy a few days during the week, but the same day. So we only could buy that day and a certain amount of products.
And this began like towards the end, or right before you
right
left?
before I left. Yes,
Okay, so this wasn't the whole way growing up.
No,
this just started right.
No, growing up was I would say the best moment of my life. I had him there just because it was a great country, great economy. Everything was easy to get, so no problem at all.
So that's everyone listening to this. No more complaining about gas prices, okay? You just heard it here. Put things into perspective a little bit. So just kind of wrap things back around from politics to sports, even though of course these two things are going to intertwine. Do you think is baseball the most popular sport in Venezuela?
Yeah, definitely,
like way more than football.
Yeah, way more than football. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, soccer. The American word.
We don't play football over there.
Do a lot of people still play soccer though?
No, they do. Yeah,
they do. Yeah.
They do.
So, I also know that Venezuela has an affiliation with minor league baseball.
Yes.
They have the Venezuelan Summer League. Yeah. And you said you played in that league, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually play for Cardenales, which is Cardinals basically. And I play for Cardenales de Lara, which is a professional team in my country that was part of this Summer League.
Gotcha.
And I also play for Mariners Seattle. And when they had the team in Venezuela, so I got to play for them too over there for 1 year, and then after I finished that season with them, I got offered the scholarship to come here, and then I took the offer.
Got you. And did you ever get paid for that, like playing in the sort of, kind of? Well, I mean, because it is like professional baseball, in a way. So like in a way, like you played professional baseball, then went to a different country to play collegiate baseball. What was that like? What was the competition like playing in like the summer league?
Yeah, I mean, you basically, because you are summertime, basically all the players that were in minor league would come back to Venezuela and they would play.
So like players that are playing in the minors here throughout the year would come back home in the summer and they would play in that summer
for their
league.
teams over there.
Gotcha. And how many teams were in that league?
There were about 5 teams from MLB and then 8 teams from the Venezuelan League.
Oh, so and they would all play in the same league?
During the summertime, all these teams that were in Venezuela would play against each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a very, so my first year I played for a different team, and then the second year I played for Seattle. But that was a very good experience, just because a lot of time, I mean, I was playing with guys that were in AA or AAA.
Yeah, at 16 years old.
And I was, and they were 16, or some guys were 21, 22, and I was 17. So it's like, okay, at that time, at that point, the level is very high. Yeah. So you gotta adjust.
So the level there had to be higher than the level you played here in America.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're facing guys that are prospects, that are top prospects for organizations.
Yeah. You probably face guys that are playing in the bigs right now.
Yeah. I actually got to play with the second base for the Angels. I mean, he has been on and off. Luis Rahimfo, I got to play with him for he was in the Seattle team at that time. Yeah. We got to play together.
You played with him?
I played with him at that time. Cool. Yeah. And like him, or other guys that are in the league or have left, they got released. But definitely a very challenging moment in my life, just because I was technically at the age of 16, 17. You are still you're young to be competing against these guys that are 24, 22, 20. So you have to perform well. You're expected to perform well, and you're expected to act like a professional. Yeah. So definitely a game changer right there.
Yeah. Do you think that like playing baseball in Venezuela and playing baseball in America, is there any like major cultural difference that like stands out in the way that like these two cultures play or treat this sport?
Honestly, I don't see that much of a culture difference,
and that's kind of what I really like about it is like baseball. At the end of the day, regardless of what language you go back and it's the same game.
Yeah, it's technically the same game. I would say what changes is the different levels, D1, D2, NAI, just all the community college, just different levels. But again, it's like minor league baseball. It's basically the same, but I would say overall is the same culture. It's baseball. People are just wanting to become better players, wanting to get an MLB contract. It's technically the same. That the level is different because I would say we like I said before, you are raised to be a professional.
Yeah.
You are training to be a professional.
Yeah.
When sometimes people just want to play sports in college, so sometimes they don't take it as serious.
Yeah.
So you are expected to play at a higher level in Venezuela just because that's gonna be your job later on. When here it's just you want to go to college, you want to become, you want to get your degree, you want to be a professional on your degree on what you chose to study. But technically, baseball is just a fun
something to pay.
For
Pay for a little bit of your
college,
school. Yeah. So what would you say is kind of, or rather, growing up, did you think like you wanted to be a professional baseball player? Like that was the goal and the dream?
Yeah, that was always and that's every kid's dream in Venezuela.
Really,
just being able to become professional. I mean, it's a way to help your family. Technically, when you are
so, like, did all your friends growing up, everyone wanted to play baseball?
Everybody wanted to become professional. I wanted to play baseball, and some of them they just didn't take it as serious. I mean, you gotta know if you have the talent or not. So people that knew that they had the talent, they definitely pursued it, and some of them made it. Some of them are still playing. Some of them got released, but that was always the goal: just become professionals.
So what would you say, moving from Venezuela to America, is the biggest like culture shock you had just in general? Like, what's something that you guys do in Venezuela that's just so drastically different from what we do in America?
There are definitely different things that have impacted me. The number one, and again, this is a very, very tough topic to talk about, but it's racism. So definitely in Venezuela there is not racism. I mean, we got people different colors, different backgrounds.
Is Venezuela I don't think Venezuela is as diverse as America is. Like, in other words, like they're probably more homogenous. Although you guys have very different shades of color. I know you have people who are just much more darker skinned or much more lighter skinned like you. Like, so it's interesting that you said racism. Elaborate a little bit. Like, what kind of like racism would you say like you've experienced here in America, or like noticed is like just drastically different from the way that people operate in Venezuela? Yeah. I believe you. I have no doubt you're correct.
I mean, definitely. I would say when it comes to skin color, to us it doesn't matter at all.
Right.
You're welcome.
It's just not something you think about.
Yeah. It's not something that it's not something that like and it never crossed my mind to be in a place where black people or white people were together and there were that tension in between both colors. I mean, it's like why, like we are all the same, we're all professionals, we're trying to have a life, to just be part of this culture. Like why is that, so that's why it impacts me, because I come to a place where I had to watch what to say. And I'm like, why do I have to watch what to say? Like, why some people are getting offended for what's coming out of my mouth? And again, I was being respectful, or I can be respectful and still say something that would hurt somebody's feelings. It doesn't matter what color they are here in America. That's how the culture is. Or it's not just about color. It's about religion, or it's about social status, or it's about family, or whatever it is. So there is you just have to watch what you say or the way you act, depending who your people who are around you are, basically.
I feel like that's probably because America, I think people need to recognize America is the most diverse country in the world. Yeah. And we do have a rather dark history, going back to the founding of our country. Yeah. We fought a civil war over whether, people can own people as property and whatnot. But we're getting there, man. Yeah. We're trying to understand that, hey, we can all get along regardless of your we'll get there eventually. We'll just hang with us. Now, I noticed, I remember one thing you told me, that one thing they do differently in Venezuela is like the celebrations, the parties you guys put on. Like for New Year's here in America, you have like a few hours. You stay up late one night. You might pop some champagne in the air. You might have balloons, blah blah blah. But like in Venezuela, it's like a whole like week long party. Explain that a little bit. Yeah,
when it comes to celebration, we basically enjoy. So I mean, and again, this comes with Hispanic culture. Hispanic culture is basically known by it's more like, how America is just an individual culture. Yeah, basically that's what the culture is. So in Hispanic, the Hispanic culture is more of a collective culture.
Interesting.
So being around family is a time to celebrate. So it can be graduation, it can be a birthday, it can be a baptism, just a time that you get to celebrate with family, just be together. We value that, and we basically enjoy our time together, and we take it seriously, and people understand that. So basically during Christmas break or during Christmas or New Year's or birthday or different holidays, we tend to celebrate it well.
Yeah.
We tend to spend time with family. We tend to just honor that date.
Yeah. I feel like you got to kind of find that happy medium, because obviously in Venezuela, a little bit of too much of a collectivist attitude can lead to some rather bad fiscal policies. But here in America, we are extremely individualistic. And so like you get to something like New Year's and people are like, do I go to a party? Like maybe I could work on New Year's and make double the amount I would working on a regular day. It's just different. But you would definitely say you've enjoyed your time here in America.
Yeah,
and you're extremely thankful that you were able to make it here.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, I feel like the Hispanic culture is more of having a good time, and that means everybody contributes to that having a good time.
It takes participation from everyone to really make it a good time.
Yeah, and when it comes to
we need to learn that.
When it comes to the American culture, it's basically I'd rather take care of myself, my responsibility, than going over there. So that, like you said, people rather just make the money, because technically you are held accountable. You hold yourself accountable for what you have. So technically, if you have bills, you pay your own bills. You don't pay anybody else's bills. Or if you are struggling, you find ways to get out of the struggling area or time in your life by just doing your own things. Like if you need money, you basically work as much as you can. We usually try to, or you guys usually try to stay away from, hey, I'm going to my family, I need money, can you guys help me, or can we all do something to help me, or like it's more of, I don't want to embarrass myself for asking money to my family. So I'd rather do it myself.
So let's kind of jump forward to the position you're at now. You are an assistant coach at your alma mater. Growing up, did you ever think that you'd become a baseball coach, or is this something that kind of became a spur of the moment?
Growing up, I just thought about becoming a baseball player.
You thought you were playing. So you thought at this age, hey, you'd still be playing somewhere in the bigs,
I'll be
making
professional,
money.
making money, going back home, just to spend time with family. Because again, when you become professional and you go home, technically you're a celebrity.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I can imagine.
I mean, people wishes or they wish to be you.
Yeah.
So you take pride on what you do, and obviously coming back home and just having that feeling of success and like that's a good feeling. So that's what I imagine, just being a professional, going back home, spending time with family, keep working to get better and get back to it. And
you've had a unique experience because like we've pointed out earlier, you are an immigrant, and as of today you're still not a U.S. citizen yet. You're an LPR, but you're still working on that. And because of that, I believe you I know that you pursued a master's, pursued a master's that 1 year, and became a graduate assistant of, I think that was 2020. And you found your wife here in America. So you've had a unique route. What's it been like, just trying to like sort of navigate all the different obstacles you've had to go through to just like stay in America? It's
definitely has been very challenging. My wife, she always says it. If I ever get to know somebody that's dating an international person, I would tell her, break up with him before you have to go through this immigration documentation and issues. And
that's how you know she loves you, bro.
Yeah. So we always joke about it. But technically, finding ways to stay in America with a residential status is a very tough. It's a very tough path to go through, just because they put so many things in front of you. It's like if anyone's ever like curious, just go to Google and search your pathway to a green card. It's like an actual treasure map. Yeah, technically it is very tough to do, but again, it has like everything, what takes. What is hard to get, you take pride on it, and you basically enjoy it, and eventually will pay off. So how far are you now from becoming a citizen? I would say 2 years. 2 years, yeah. And so once you've been naturalized, is your plans to bring any of your family members here? Yeah, I would like to bring my family, and I would like to bring my mom and dad, my brother, but technically the brother isn't in the same distinction as the mom and dad, right? He doesn't qualify for what immediate family. Yes. Yeah, so technically it will be only mom and dad, but again, that would be a huge win for me, just to be able to have my parents here, especially because they're getting a certain age where I would like them to enjoy something else than just Venezuela, because technically they're not enjoying it over there. They're just living, and it's not what it used to be. So I wanted to get to experience some of the things that I have experienced in the past, and what I'm gonna keep experiencing. But I would like to have them with me.
Yeah. So Jose, as someone who sort of just missed that cut of getting an extra year of eligibility, you know what I mean? What would you tell someone who's maybe a student athlete now, playing at the level we're at, about to enter that world, deciding whether should they come back for another year, should they go on and get on with their life? What would you tell someone, right, who's in that situation?
I would, so definitely yes. I wish I would have had an extra year,
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. Some people, and I always keep making fun of, not fun, but like I just don't understand how I play with people, and they're also still playing.
Yeah,
and I graduated 2 years ago, and some people that are still playing. I'm like, how do you guys manage to do that? But my advice is play baseball as long as you can.
Yeah,
just because you get only 4 years for baseball, and you have your entire life to do other things. Baseball is a beautiful sport. We all enjoy it. We all love it. But again, once it's gone, it is really gone. Like I still pick up my glove and play catch just because I'm coaching baseball.
But there's nothing like strapping up the cleats, playing between the lines, playing in front of your home crowd, your friends, your family.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I still do it because I'm a baseball coach. But if I wasn't, I wouldn't be able. I wouldn't pick up a glove and play catch like I used to.
Yeah.
It's a different feeling. It's like I spent my whole life chasing a baseball.
Yeah.
And now that I graduated, it feels like I never did it. It's like gone. Like you go from one day just playing your last game, and the next day you're like, why should I pick up a baseball again? It's a weird feeling because you're not gonna play baseball.
What's the difference in feeling when you're preparing for a game as a player compared to like when you're preparing for a game as a coach?
I would say when you're preparing for a game as a player, you get all the excitement because you're going to be on the field. People are going to be watching you.
Yeah,
you are sharing the field with your friends.
Yeah,
you guys are just battling together, just competing together. And when it comes to and you can control a little bit of what's going on in the game. You can make a play. You can play at the best of your abilities and bunt, hit. You get a chance to change the game. Basically. When you're a coach, you get to control. You get to move the pieces basically, but you don't. It's a little bit of frustration sometimes.
Do you say would you have a little higher level of nervousness before a game whenever you're playing as opposed to coaching?
Definitely, yeah.
But you almost miss those nerves. Like it's more like an anxious type of nerves and excitement as opposed to I'm a little scared and timid.
I mean, I still get excited as a coach, but it's not the same. You want to put those cleats on, like you said. You want to put your batting glove. You want to get a glove and you want to run in between the lines, and it's a whole different feeling. Definitely. But preparing as a coach, I would say there is more of behind scenes stuff like lineups, field work, charts, who's playing where, what are we gonna do whenever this guy's out of the field. There's a lot more management there, but you want to make sure things are just going well. But when it comes to playing the game as a player, it's more like, what can I do to win the game or to perform well? There's more physical preparation at that time, and when it comes to coach, it's more of preparing everything so we can have this game. So it's a little different.
What would you like? You've had such a unique experience here as a player and as a coach. And I'm trying to think where I'm going with this. I think I would be doing a disservice if I didn't ask you kind of about the impact that the pandemic's kind of had on you and maybe your family back home. Because like usually what something like a pandemic might do is it might put a rather well-run economy into turmoil the way like we saw here in America. But talk about a little bit about the impact that COVID's had on your situation back home, on your family, for an economy that was already in ruin. How did that impact people? Like what kind of changed for your family whenever they started dealing with something like the pandemic?
So whenever COVID happened, I guess our president took advantage of it more than he should have. So technically, we were done with COVID here probably, last year.
Yeah.
And then my family, they were still doing mask mandate and quarantine a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
So it was more like...
They were still quarantining?
Yes, they were still quarantining, and they were only allowed to... They were basically on and off by weekly. So 1 week they were allowed to just go outside and do whatever they wanted to, but the next week, full quarantine. Nobody outside past noon. So it was... So the government basically took advantage of it. So my family will always tell me how the government was taking advantage of it, and it was because nobody around the world was working, basically.
Right.
So they couldn't buy products. They could, because I don't know, it was just different. So they wouldn't sell gas. They wouldn't do a bunch of stuff that they usually did in the past to make that little bit of money, and that impacted Venezuela. And technically, it brought basically a chaotic situation. So technically, my family, all the places or the markets were closed, and I feel like that's a different part from America.
Did anything get like I already know, like, it was already pretty difficult being in Venezuela in the first place. Did it get even harder? Yeah,
I would say the medical field in Venezuela is not as strong as it is in USA. So that rather impacted a lot. It was a very impact because technically a lot of people die because of the resources. At that point, the government...
The limited resources for hospitals.
The government wasn't providing any resources, anything to help people deal with this, with the pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of people die, so my family tried to stay away from people, tried to not leave our house because they were afraid of it. They were so afraid of... When people get a virus and they go to the hospital and they die because there are no medicines. It's just a whole different living situation over there. So that technically was a very hard hit for us in Venezuela, or for my family in Venezuela.
Do you ever think about how funny it is that, like, we here as a culture in America, like, I remember you were my roommate whenever this all went down. I remember the first time I really took COVID seriously was when the NBA, National Basketball Association, suspended the rest of their season. And I was like, oh my gosh, you mean a sports organization is stopping something? Actually, this is serious. And I always think about how funny it is how, like, crazy we treat something like sports.
Yeah.
Like, right whenever it all went down, I remember, like, there was like a month and a half where there were no sports on TV. Major League Baseball was shut down. The NBA was shut down. Everything was shut down. And I was just like, oh my gosh. What do I do with my life? We don't have sports. We don't have these kids playing a children's game, man. And we had to immediately think of how we're gonna come back. We're gonna bring back players with no fans. You know, we're gonna go play in a bubble where they have to be tested before every single game. I just feel it's surreal how, like, crazy we take something that at the end of the day is a children's game. And I think, do you ever think about how crazy that is for you, that you talk about the rather dire living conditions in somewhere like Venezuela and how grateful you are to be here in America? What got you here, what got you that student visa, was your ability to throw and hit around a little white ball. Does that ever feel surreal for you? Like, at the end of the day, like, baseball is just a children's game. It's a bunch of very talented athletes playing a children's game. Yeah,
technically. And that's what it is. It is. And when it comes to that, it's a children's game, but also so many people are getting paid so much money to play that game. And that happens because fans and people around the world, they're willing to invest that much money to this game. They buy the merchandise.
It's because we love it so much, man. We can't just dedicate it. We can't dedicate our entire lives to our work. You know, like, I always ask people, like, because a lot of people will complain about how much, like, athletes make. It's like, oh, what are they doing? They're just playing a game, blah, blah. I'm like, well, try and imagine a world without sports. Like, that world is a world I not want to live in. Like I said, like I just said, we experienced that for a month and a half, and I don't want to live in that world. We need something to take our mind off. I think the way that sports is able to bring people together, like you said, there's so many different cultural differences between, like, Venezuela and America, but when it comes to the game of baseball, ultimately it's just fundamentally the same.
Basically that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, Coach Vargas, I think we've reached the end of our time here. I want to thank you very much for coming on, and I wish the best to you. I wish the best to our team. Hopefully we can make a run this year. And, Coach, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for the opportunity to have me here.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. All right. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.